having too much. That's the problem. We're having too much fun.
You never have too much fun.
How to make a bad 40K video. Start talking about Shrek.
Hey everyone, Space Marine Steve here at Hyperspace Hobbies, and I'm here with my good friend Ian. What's up? So Shrek. Hey everyone, Space Marine Steve from Play on Tabletop here at Hyperspace Hobbies with my good friend Ian.
Hello.
How's it going, my man? Good?
Good.
That's
Very
great.
good.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to have our 40K chat today. Today we are talking about chasing the meta.
But first, we would both appreciate it if you liked and subscribed to the channel.
We are actually getting close to our 5,000 subscriber, this little mountain we've been trying to climb recently.
If we're currently at 5,000, we're shooting for 6,000.
and you should like and subscribe.
All right, let's get to it. Chasing the meta. It's an interesting thing that I've seen people do a lot of. There's even people that are known for it in our area.
Yeah.
They throw whatever old army they were playing into the garbage.
Yeah.
And they pick up the new hotness.
Yeah.
What do you think about chasing the meta?
Well, I think first it's good to define exactly what it is. So chasing the meta can look like two separate things. So let's say play Space Marines, of course. If I'm playing Space Marines, like I don't really want to play other factions. However, there are like good performing Space Marine lists out there, but they use like very specific units and models. And if I'm chasing the meta with Space Marines, I would say, oh, this is what's good with Space Marines right now. I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy 3 units of this thing, whatever is best. It's going into the army. I don't care. That's what's happening. And then when it changes, let's say there's new rules or the ecosystem of the meta is changed and the Space Marine lists that are winning changes, I go out and do the exact same thing again. Right. So that's the first way it could happen. The second way is actually way more drastic, is that you do a full-on flip of an army.
Yeah, you
right?
throw an old army out, you
Yep.
find the one that's winning most games,
Yeah.
and you buy the most OP stuff that is currently available for
Yep.
that army.
And you paint it up as fast and as haphazardly as you possibly can, just so you can get it onto the tabletop and win like a tournament this weekend.
But that is like an attitude, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. You want to take it to a tournament and win.
That's the
Where
point.
this is not I just want to play with my friends and be casual sort of thing.
But with that being said, 40K is a game and games are meant to be won. Unfortunately, we play a very imbalanced game. This must be one of the few games where when you play it, there's like a way of playing it where you've min-maxed as much as you can possibly min-maxed, spam the things you can spam, playing the best thing that is in the meta right now, right? Or you just kind of play what you have, where you play what you think looks cool because there's an aesthetic part to this too. Or maybe it's lore that really has you excited, right? And you're playing an army that is canonically correct. Okay, like there are different ways of playing. And this one that we're talking about right now, this meta bleeding edge of the meta, it is very specific. It's hard when you come up against those kind of lists though.
You're going to see a lot of them. That's the thing.
Yeah.
If this is a common thing, is people chasing the meta, which we've both seen.
Yep.
It can become very common. And the problem with chasing the meta in a lot of ways that people do is as soon as there is an established meta, the community instantly starts to try to break it.
Yeah.
And so whatever is currently the best, everyone's out there going, at least tournament players are going, how do I crack that egg?
Yeah. Yep.
So the meta never stays stable.
No.
Armies, if the army is OP, then that army can stay at the top for a little bit too long. But usually if it's a particular unit or 2 units that are dominating a particular style of the game, people start working at it, trying to figure out a way to get it off the table.
Yeah, or it's so OP that it gets hit with the nerf bat during one of the data sheet updates or something like that, and then it gets spiked down pretty fast.
Yeah.
But
then you see the eBay sales for that.
Oh yeah, I bet you could eBay right now how many half painted incarns there are, right? Because it got nerfed in such a way that you can't use it the way you used to be able to use it. So how many half painted incarns are on eBay right now trying to get the value back out of it, right? Or Wraith Knights or whatever else, because all of that has kind of flipped over and it's different, it's changed. Or how many Wraith Guard hit eBay after they made the change to them being able to shoot back, right?
Yeah.
It is negative. Like I would say that all in all, meta chasing is a relatively negative thing because it comes with I think with more negatives than it does positives. And negatively, like let's say you really want to chase the meta. Negatively, it hits your wallet, right? You end up going and especially if you're talking about like GW plastic kits, right? Like if you're going to go and you're going to buy a brand new army, that can be sometimes in many cases actually like thousands of dollars, right? And so that's, to me, like that's a little overkill. If you want to do it, but I don't know if it's quite worth it.
Yeah, and it's definitely brought our little community together. When some particular army list is crushing, we all bring our heads together and try to figure out a way to counter what's currently out there.
Yeah, that is a positive.
It does start conversations at a tournament level. You can start a conversation with a complete stranger. Just go, hey, have you played XYZ? And they go, just played it. And you go, all right, let's talk.
Yeah.
And you start formulating ideas on how to beat it.
Right? It can bring some people together to try and figure it out and solve the puzzle. I would say a negative for chasing the meta is that it can make like you and others sometimes kind of feel bad, right? And we're not talking about big tournaments. Like if you go to a super major where there's like hundreds of players, you know what? Like it's the way that it is. It's a hyper competitive event, right? Like everyone is trying their best to win. And, sometimes there is a mathematical answer to that problem. However, there's ways that it can make you and your opponent feel bad. It can actually be both.
Yeah.
So the way it can make your opponent feel bad is, and we're talking about in like a local setting. Let's say you go to a little RTT or Mike's house and we're just playing like in his basement over, a couple of like beverages or something like that. If I bring something that I very clearly just like got because it's the best, it can sometimes create this sense of like, man, like, why do you got to play this way right now? Like, I'm playing a more casual list. You're playing this hyper competitive list. Like, I'm not having as much fun as you. Like, it can create this sense of like disparity.
And especially with like a small friend group, if you're not doing the tournament scene, what it starts to snowball is a type of arms race in between your friends. Oh, I got these things that are really strong. I got 3 of them. And then your friend goes, well, I'm going to go out next week and I'm going to buy 3 things to counter that.
Yeah.
And then you go, well, then I have to go and buy out the stuff that counters that. And then it starts this nonstop arms race.
It's really unnecessary.
That isn't good for like fun play. Now, you and I play competitively, but we don't really go for the most competitive lists in all scenarios. We kind of just like to play what we're familiar with, but play it at a competitive level.
Yeah, totally. And so we don't get involved in that level of like the model purchasing arms race. With that being said, let me also talk about why it's bad, why it might make you feel bad, right? Because I said that there's a way that it can make both your opponent and you feel bad.
Yeah.
And the game is more fluid now than it has ever been. Like I remember back in 5th edition when you'd be waiting in many cases like years for a new codex, right? Or years for any kind of change in the meta at all. Now, literally the meta changes every few months. And so if you go out and you buy whatever is best, like I would say even money, unless you got it commission painted by like speed painters, or you're very fast yourself, by the time you're finished actually building and painting and hobbying on all of those models, it's over anyways.
Yeah, they might already be.
They're already gone.
They might already be nerfed.
Right? And so you're not going to feel good. Like, because you're going to have done all this work, spend all this money going, yeah, now I'm going to go to a tournament and now I have a real shot at winning it. But you might not.
Yeah, I mean, the nerf might come 2 or 3 days before the tournament.
And there it is. It's over.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you think that's almost like a tactic of Games Workshop? Just to say, okay, this model's OP. People are it's going to be flying off the shelves. And then we're going to nerf it before a major. Because usually before those gigantic tournaments, like LVO, there's a mix-up right before.
Not this time there wasn't.
Well, there's a drop of a Necron Codex, which definitely stirred things up.
That did, yeah. But you know what? I actually don't think that it is as, like, I don't think it's as insidious as that. I think they have created a scenario where the meta is always changing. And so, which I think is good for their sales, right? And so the timing of like tournaments and stuff, I don't think they actually put that much effort into it. But I do think they do want it changing so that people do go out and they want to buy a new unit here, a new unit there. They've also been releasing models at a faster pace than they've ever released models before. And so that is naturally keeping the pace up. However, because of the new established pace of Games Workshop, chasing the meta, in my opinion, has like real negative like feelings towards for you. And then on top of that too, even if you had a tournament winning army in front of you that you just had painted and you're really excited to play it, if you got that idea like off the internet, you might not actually have the player skill to win with that.
This is something that I've seen a lot. I've actually heard people say out loud, I can't believe I didn't win this tournament with this list because it just won a major GT.
Well,
just because you have it and you're playing it doesn't mean you know how to play it.
Yeah.
If you just rip a list off the internet, you might not necessarily have developed the skill or the mindset of the person who wrote that list.
Yeah.
Making a list personal is one of my favorite parts of this game.
Yep.
It allows you to show your play style and grow better as a player.
Yep.
Because if you're playing something else that you've seen, a net list, then you're not growing in the same kind of way. You're just assuming that that's going to work.
Yep.
And you're not going to get as good at the game as if you just experiment with your own stuff.
Yep. I would, if I were a betting man and I was going to place bets on games at tournaments, if someone had told me, okay, like here is the meta crushing, Necron army right now. However, he just started playing Necrons because of how broken it is. And he just, like, this is his first tournament with this army, right? And that got paired up against, some random guy with some subpar list, right? That was, like, objectively worse than the Necrons. I would bet on the guy with the subpar list almost all the time.
So experience can beat the net listing.
Yeah, it happens with me, actually. Like, it happened at one of the last GTs that I went to. My list is not competitive at all. And a person actually did say to me, like, oh, man, like, your list is bad. And I was like, totally. Mm-hmm. I came higher in the placings than he did.
So if you're hungry for net listing, it might not turn out the way that you're thinking it's going to turn out.
Yeah, and the fundamentals of the game are more important to, like, projecting wins than meta chasing. Meta chasing, in my opinion, while a viable way to seek wins, right? It is a viable way of doing it. Like, you can find the best data sheet, you can find the best army, you can play the best thing, right? If you practice enough at it, you're going to get good at it. But if your fundamentals are flawed, I think that you're going to struggle, especially when the games start getting close.
However, if you are a seasoned player and you're playing one of those meta chasing armies, then you're probably going to do really, really well.
But there is a cost.
Yes.
Right? There is a cost. Personally, I believe that meta chasing, while a viable way to seek out the W's, is not as effective as simply being a strong player. That's if you know the fundamentals, if you get the fundamentals, if you understand how the game works and you practice a list enough, I mean, you can play almost anything well enough to go to the top of a tournament. Maybe not win it, right? But you could get close, that's for sure.
Yep. And if you're riding that meta wave, got to understand that wave's going to crash.
Oh, always does, right? It's kind of up to you. I personally advocate for the fundamentals, although I can totally see how you would want to meta chase to try and get some kind of edge. But I like my way.
Yeah.
It means I have to buy a little less.
Yeah. Which
right?
always helps the wallet.
Always helps the wallet. But there's many ways to do it. Throw your thoughts on meta chasing down in the comments and let's have a conversation about it. There are some pros, there are some cons, there's positives and negatives. And so I think it's one of those great conversation starters. From all of us here at Hyperspace Hobbies, thanks for joining us. This has been a great chat. I'm Steve.
I'm Ian.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Have a good night.
So, Shrek.
Oh my God, it's so good!
I got my costume picked out. It's a Shrek.